begin this edition of In My Own Words a little bit differently tonight here on a Friday, number one forum for Bama football news. Yours truly, Stephen M. Smith, touchdown at Alabama Magazine. We're going to go over right now, too. Well, before we do things differently, you can check out the show as we're doing this show from the Magic City of Birmingham, streaming this to you on YouTube. Speaking of the channel, go ahead right now and hit subscribe. Smash that subscribe button right now. Get all of your friends to subscribe so you can have all that you crave on your Alabama football news. Run those likes up. Give a thumbs up. Hit that like button. Make this your show, your network, your platform, channel, and space to talk Bama football. Also, turn all of those notifications on. Hit that little bell so that way you can get all of your news, notes, alerts, and entertainment on the hottest show on the streets right here in my own words. Yours truly, Stephen M. Smith of TDA. Got the man John Ivory in the production studio. We got a big show tonight. Want to hear from you, the Bama football fans. You can do this by calling 205-448-1358. Number to call in to let your voice be heard on the show, 205-448-1358. And one more time, 205-448-1358. For daily super chat going, as always, $75. Daily super chat going. Appreciate the love from you guys. But right now, we're going to go to the In My Own Words hotline. We pick up our heavy-hitting guest, heavy-hitting guy for tonight's show. We're talking about a two-time BCS national champion. Well, two-time national champion in 2012 and 2015. Former Crimson Tide defensive back, played from 2012 to 15 all the way from Louisiana. My man Bradley Sylve in the building. Big Bradley, what's going on, bruh?
Man, what's going on with you, my man?
Doing fine. We got Bradley Sylve in the building. Former Crimson Tide defensive back, played from 2012 to 15, a two-time national champion in the 2012 and 2015 seasons. Played in 50 career games in Tuscaloosa. And just, Bradley, first and foremost, congrats to you on the chance to play in the USFL. Of a draft took place. You were taken by the Philadelphia Stars, so the ability to continue your pro career is outstanding. And just for you, what were the initial reactions like when you got the call or you saw that you were going to be able to play in the USFL?
Man, to be honest with you, man, that was a big old sigh of relief. I can also say, man, like the journey I done been on, man, like I had to overcome a lot, man. So that was a bittersweet moment for me, to get my name called and I get to play football once again, man. I love the game of football. I love everything about it, man. So, I'm just glad to be back out there, man, doing what I love to do.
Absolutely. We got Bradley Sylve on the phone lines. If you're just tuning into the show on a Friday, in my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Sylve, former defensive back, two-time national champion for the Crimson Tide. And Bradley, as you're now embarking upon it in the USFL, you had 4 years. You played 4 years under Coach Saban. What were maybe some of the biggest lessons you took from him in Tuscaloosa in those 4 years to prepare you not just for football, but also life in general?
Well, to be honest, Coach Saban helped me out a lot, man. Especially, I came in at wide receiver. And I think we were 7 games in as my freshman year. And, he wound up coming up to me and asked me if I want to switch to corner. And to be honest, that was probably like the most, like I have to say, man, that was the best decision, that I ever made, to switch over to cornerback. And I played it a little bit in high school, but when I got to Bama, man, and Coach Saban, he coaches the defensive back, so I was with him every day, So I give him the props, man, letting me switch over to corner and just playing a bigger role for myself and giving me a bigger opportunity. And Coach Saban taught us a lot, man. Like, he just don't teach us on the field. He teaches off the field. He teaches how to be accountable, be at the right spots at the right time. And, he just helped me out tremendously in everything. So I got to give him the props for that.
Now, Bradley, one of the games, one of my favorite games I saw you in or you being a part of at Alabama, it would have to be that 2014 Iron Bowl in Tuscaloosa. That was a shootout right there. The final score was 55-44, and I remember Coach Saban put you in there to defend on Auburn's receivers, and there was a play where you were matched up on Quan Bray, and I promise you I thought you had picked that ball off, but they gave it to Quan Bray as a simultaneous catch there.
Yes, sir, man. I knew for a fact I caught the ball. I don't know what the ref was thinking. You know, the ball was clearly in my possession. My foot came down first before head inbound, so you know they stole that from me, man. They stole that. The ref stole that from me.
Awesome moment there with Bradley Sylve. We got Sylve here on the show, a former Crimson Tide defensive back, played from 2012 to 15, two-time a national champion, but now getting this opportunity to play in the USFL. And before we get into one final thought here, Bradley, just for you, what were some of your favorite iconic moments in Tuscaloosa, playing for Nick Saban, playing for this program? What are some iconic moments that come to mind for you?
Well, I got to say, though, the 2014 Iron Bowl, just because, you know, I started that year the West Virginia game, and didn't do too well in that game. You know, a lot of people, you know, was calling me off, oh, he can't play corner, he can't play for Alabama, man. You know, they was really writing me off. So I took that, you know, to a whole nother level, man. I ain't let that, you know, defeat me. I used that as motivation, man, because I knew for a fact that I was going to get another opportunity, you know, and I just kept working, kept grinding. You know, I wasn't listening to what other people were saying about me. And when I got my chance for the 2014 Auburn game, man, I just knew. When Coach Saban called my number, I was ready, man. I was ready, man. You know, I did what I had to do. And I probably have to say, you know, that was probably the most iconic game that, you know, that I remember, you know, playing from playing at Alabama at that time.
Talking with Bradley Sylve here, former Crimson Tide cornerback, defensive back. If you're just tuning into the show here on a Friday, in my own words, yours truly, Stephen M. Smith. And so as we look at now spring football coming up, Bradley, for Alabama, for the Crimson Tide in Tuscaloosa, everybody's going to have their eyes on different players that they want to see excel. But coming from a defensive back's perspective, are there any DBs this spring for Alabama and next season in the fall that you will have your eye on?
Now, to be honest, you know, I be looking at everybody as a collective group, especially the DBs, because, you know, playing DB, you know, at Alabama under Coach Saban, man, you got to be technically sound. You got to know what to do, how to do it, and why it's important to do it that way, you know. And I just hope, man, this season, man, you know, them boys, you know, lock in. They have to lock in for sure, you know. And I feel like they're gonna do a great job, man. I feel like they're gonna do a great job. I know they wish they could take back, you know what I'm saying, the Georgia game, but hey, that's all motivation, man, that come with it. You know, you ain't gonna succeed every time. You know, so as a collective group, man, I just hope them boys, you know, lock in, stay focused, you know, handle their business, man, and do what they have to do to bring another championship back home.
The words there from my man Bradley Sylve, locking in, staying focused, handling that business on the field. He handled business for the Crimson Tide for 4 seasons, 2012 through 2015, a two-time national champion. Bradley, man, appreciate you coming on to spend a little bit of a moment with us. Best wishes to you, man, in the USFL. You take care of yourself.
Man, my man, thank you so much for having me on the show, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Bradley Sylve, former Alabama cornerback, defensive back, two-time national champion, played from 2012 to 2015, graciously joined us live here on the show. Well, folks, we're going to go to a break here. When we get back, we will actually get into the first topic of conversation, that being, is Nick Saban about to add another elite defensive mind to the coaching staff? We'll talk about that after this.
If you're an avid Alabama Crimson Tide fan and you love to flaunt it, then show your Alabama Crimson Tide support by grabbing the All-Bama sneakers. They feature bold Crimson Tide graphics, so no one will be able to question where your allegiance lies. When you add these sweet sneakers to your Alabama Crimson Tide collection, go to stsfootwear.com and use the code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. That's code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. Go to stsfootwear.com and get your All-Bama sneakers today. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
All right, people, we're back into the action from the break. Number one forum, hottest show on the streets for your Crimson Tide football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine on a Friday, TGIF, Free for All Friday edition of the show. Got to appreciate my man Bradley Sylve, former Alabama defensive back, joining us in the previous segment. Wish him the best in the USFL as he's been drafted by the Philadelphia Stars. But we get some super chats right now, and weighing in El Presidente weighing in always starting us off with that $9.99 in the super chats. Appreciate that from weighing in, and my man Bill from New York with that $5 donation to his own credit. Once again, that daily super chat go, $75 daily super chat go. Appreciate the love coming from you, the fans. But John, so big idea, big thought now. Coach Saban, is he bringing another elite defensive mind, defensive chess piece to the coaching staff? On yesterday, Football Scoop reported the story, and you got enough Football Scoop, highly informational, highly credible. You don't love what those guys do over there, but Football Scoop reported the story on how Todd Grantham was considering, or is considering, coming to the Crimson Tide, joining forces with Nick Saban in Tuscaloosa. And right after Football Scoop put the story out there, got a chance to have a conversation with people I trust, sources from within the program, that we and I have, conversations, and I was told that expect Todd Grantham to be in Tuscaloosa. Expect Todd Grantham to be a part of the Crimson Tide coaching staff. Nick Saban is making this move and bringing in Grantham to the Crimson Tide. And this all pours back into Saban getting those guys that he trusts, that he's familiar with, that knows what he likes, that understands what he likes, that there's some familiarity with each other, there's some familiarity in the coaching ranks, in this coaching fraternity. And for Grantham and Saban, they both go back to Michigan State. Coach Saban, the head coach for the Spartans from 1995 to 99. Grantham was on his staff from 96 to 98 as a defensive line coach and as an assistant head coach. And one thing about Grantham, at 55 years old, he's coached every defensive position except for cornerbacks and safeties. I mean, Grantham's coached defensive ends, defensive linemen, outside linebackers, inside linebackers. He's coordinated defense. He's done pretty much everything in terms of the defensive side of the ball. And I've said this before, a couple of things that Coach Saban wants to get in assistants now is, what is your footprint like in the SEC? Do you understand how marquee this conference is? Todd Grantham does. Defensive coordinator at Georgia, defensive coordinator at Florida, defensive coordinator at Mississippi State. So he's had his imprint all over this conference. So it's a no-brainer why he is interested in considering Alabama, and no-brainer as to why I expect him to be in Tuscaloosa on Saban's coaching staff. Now, when you look at Grantham's credentials here, I mean, he was big. At Georgia, produced big-time defenses. The defense over there gave up 22.8 points per game. working about sacking the quarterback, creating those interceptions. When he was at Louisville, Grantham was big for the Louisville Cardinals. When you look at 23.2 points per game allowed, 109 sacks, 58 interceptions. You look at Mississippi State, he was there for 1 year, 2017, but his 1 year was one of the best years the Bulldogs had under Dan Mullen as the head coach. Todd Grantham had freaks over there with Jeffrey Simmons and Montez Sweat and those guys, and the Bulldogs, 20.9 points per game allowed, 36 sacks, 13 interceptions. And then at Florida, the last 4 years of his tenure, 2018 to this past season, Grantham, that defense, giving up 23.3 points per game, 158 sacks, and 47 picks. So those guys, those defenses that Grantham had, whether it was at Georgia, Florida, Mississippi State, Louisville, they were big on blitzing, big on creating pressure, big on disguising pressure, big on getting home to the quarterback, big on getting interceptions, big on forcing fumbles, big on turning turnovers into points. Those non-offensive touchdowns, those things on the field that make you go crazy, that make you hyped up, that have you standing up on your feet off the couch as an Alabama fan, those non-offensive touchdowns. Todd Grantham was getting a lot of those in all of the coaching stops he was at, coordinating defenses, especially in the SEC. And also, he's put quite the amount of people, quite the amount of athletes in the NFL draft as high round picks. So Grantham's credentials, Grantham's numbers, his stat sheet, pretty solid, pretty elite, pretty darn good when you look at what Grantham has done as a DC and coordinating these types of things. And you go back to 2020, Alabama had Charlie Strong on staff. Maybe not the greatest head coach, but a big-time defensive mind. And I remember when Charlie Strong was brought in, people were like, well, why is Charlie Strong here? He ruined the Texas program. He ruined this program. He ruined that program. Why is he at Alabama? He was at Alabama because of his defensive acumen. He was at Alabama because of his defensive mind. He was at Alabama because of his success and the respect that the coaching profession has for him as a defensive guru. And from behind the scenes, what did Charlie Strong do? Well, he helped Alabama go undefeated, perfect national championship season in 2020. And when you could not keep Strong as an analyst on staff, the next best move you would have to make if you're Coach Saban is to get another elite defensive mind that's well-respected, i.e. Todd Grantham, who is very well-respected in this conference. And what this also does, it provides another sword in the tool shed to sharpen Pete Golding. Some people feel like Todd Grantham will be at Alabama as an assistant defensive coordinator. I've been told defensive analyst, whatever the case may be. This is another tool in the shed, another sword in the box to sharpen Pete Golding up even more, because Coach Saban really likes Pete Golding. There's a reason why Saban has kept the 37-year-old in the fold and part of the program, because he sees the potential to be elite. Pete Golding, not elite right now, not elite now, but Saban sees the potential to be elite. In his as he's going into his 5th season in Tuscaloosa, his 3rd season calling defenses, or his 4th season calling defenses, we've seen Golding grow each year. Going back to last season, down the stretch, we saw a defense play with a lot more confidence, a lot more communication, a lot more of understanding where to be at, why to be at, get to your spot on the field. We saw that in the latter part of 2021. We saw a big improvement there, and we saw a big improvement from a lot of individual players. Whether that was Henry To'o, who's back for this upcoming season, whether that was Christian Harris, who's pursuing the NFL draft, we saw improvement from a lot of players in various areas because of, Coach Golding. We know the type of recruiter that he is. The young men love him on the recruiting trail. This past class, when you talk about the 24 student athletes signed, 8 of those guys, Golding was solely responsible for bringing those guys into the program. So Coach Saban likes Pete Golding. He is not letting go of this man. He just sees, let's get him let's bring another sword in here that can make Golding sharper, that can have Golding even more confident, that Golding can learn more from as he continues to improve and mature as a play caller. And for a lot of you, the one area that you want to see Pete Golding improve in is having more pressures, having more blitz packages, disguising those pressures, disguising those looks, hitting home on quarterbacks, forcing those turnovers, turning those mistakes from the opposition into points. And the best way for a guy like Pete to glean more and learn more about these things is bringing somebody in here who's a mastermind of those things, and that is Todd Grantham. Now, of course, Grantham can be known to be a little too blitz happy at times, but with Coach Saban in here, Saban will pull the best out of Grantham to put into Pete Golding so that it meshes well. That's what you want. You want everything to mesh well. You want everything to blend well and to gel well, so it all comes together in one harmonious act of coaching on the field. Alabama's going to have all the talent it needs in terms of players, but to get an elite mind like a Todd Grantham in Tuscaloosa as a defensive analyst and in some defensive capacity to help out with Pete Golding and having that improvement on his end, really, really good, really sound here as Saban continuing to try to build a coaching staff that can get back to the national championship and finish the job in getting that trophy back to Tuscaloosa. But we go to a break right here, folks, on the show. Don't touch that dial. Just getting started. When we get back, we're going to go to the phone lines. We're going to take your calls, your thoughts, your chats, your conversations, have a dialogue with you. What are your thoughts on Alabama bringing in Todd Grantham into the program? We'll get to you guys right after this.
You're watching In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith, brought to you by We Own the Fourth Quarter. Get your 4-finger bling necklace today by visiting weownthefourthquarter.com. Throw them foes up.
This is Matt Caddell, former Alabama wide receiver, and you're listening to In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith with Touchdown Alabama Magazine. And I got 2 words to say, baby. Roll Tide.
Nine players have teamed up and released the Alabama Team Paper, which is a video yearbook they put out for sale direct to fans. Now, for the first time, small dollar purchases from the fans can support the players as a group as well as a great cause, because $1 of every subscription payment is donated to the Boys and Girls Club of America. Be a 5-star fan base and support your team and a great cause with Team Paper. Check it out at teampaper.com/Alabama.
Remember the taste of Grandma's delicious sweets? Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes brings back those precious memories with just one bite. Each cake made from scratch. They make the perfect dessert to share with family and friends for any occasion, and ordering is easy. Visit emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Click the online store and shop. Then pick up your fresh cake at the kitchen in downtown Homewood. Order yours online at emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes, making memories from scratch.
As we're back into the action here from the break on a Friday, Free-for-All Friday, TGIF edition of the show, number one forum when you talk your Crimson Tide. Yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Happy to have you guys all in here on today. We got a few super chats. We got some super chats to get to right now. So how about we got Nona Davis with that $10 donation helping us out here on the show. Behind Nona Davis, we got William Bryan, my man out of Iowa, with that $25 donation coming up in here. Appreciate that from William Bryan. Behind him, we got my man Fresno, Tobias Brookins, West Coast, baby, with that 50-piece walking up in here as well. That daily super chat goal of $75 has been met. Appreciate you, the Bama fans, the family, making this your show, your network, your platform and channel to talk Tide football. Now, I know in the chat line, some of you have been talking about, is this Pete Golding on thin ice because Todd Grantham expecting to be into the program? I wouldn't say it's Pete Golding on thin ice. I know going back to the whole DUI thing where Coach Golding is concerned, nobody got hurt, nobody got seriously affected by that. I know Coach Saban has had conversations with Coach Golding. They've got that situation under control right there. Of course, Golding put out his statement, remorseful about what happened, about what he did, was disappointed within himself about what happened. So I don't see this as Coach Golding on thin ice. However, I see this more as another veteran to help Golden be all that he can be and be all that he wants to be as a defensive coordinator. I think this is more what that is trying to get the most out of Coach Golding and polishing him up and making him elite, because there are fans out there that really believe that Pete Golding can be elite. And I think he has the capability to become that guy, to become that coordinator. It's there. It's now pulling it out of him even more. And I think having a Todd Grantham can do that for him. Guys, I also shout out Sweet Home Bama 22. Sweet Home Bama 22 with that $20 donation. Super Chats, appreciate Sweet Home Bama 22 for that. But now we go to the phone lines to grab your calls. The call statement brought to you by the Blue Ridge Gang. We take this call here. What's going on? How we feeling tonight? State your name and where you calling from.
Well, Stephen, I thought I'd call in here. I hope everybody's having a happy Friday. This is old President Whalen. I see everybody in the chat. We'll start off with that tonight. A lot of people in here. I hope I hadn't missed anybody. If I have, I'm going to say hello to everybody on the chat. We thank you for all the donations tonight, making this a great Friday. If it wasn't for y'all, TDA would not be where it is today. Y'all are great fans. This is a great show, and TDA loves y'all, and Whalen does too. But to talk about this Pete Golding thing, Pete Golding's here to stay, I think. I don't see any reason why that they should get rid of him. If he was going to be gotten rid of, that would have been last year. The way the defense was, excuse me, I'm sorry about that. But the defense improved towards the end of the year, so Pete's here to stay. And, you got Todd coming in, you got other people there. So we're going to have some great minds down there on the defensive end, so we don't need to worry about that. But we want to remember Lionel Little Train James. It was a running back with Bo Jackson there. He played in the early 80s. He had the Auburn, I think in 1981, 82, if I remember correctly. He led Auburn in all-purpose yards. He's passed away today. We want to remember Lionel Little Train James. And everybody have a great weekend. I don't think there's anything else I've left out here. Y'all be safe. Let's meet back on Monday. And y'all listen now, just a minute. Now, we're going to remember Lionel now. If y'all will listen real close, you'll hear him coming. Oh, here he comes. Rest in peace, Lionel Little Train James. You'll be missed. I love all y'all. I'll see y'all on Monday. Bye-bye, everyone.
Appreciate weighing in there, starting us off on a Friday. We go to this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How are you feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Hi, Stephen. Bill from New York. What's up, bro?
Doing good, Bill, and yourself, man.
We're good. I want to, if I could, address something that we were talking about Wednesday on the show in terms of Toe. Some people were calling for him, like Moody, to be calling the signals. I just want to say I disagree. I mean, Henry, he came here from Tennessee to a new system, new players, and had to call signals for a Nick Saban complicated defense. Now, he scared me a little at the beginning of the season, I admit it, but he just kept getting better. And not only that, he stayed. He wants to be here. And I think he could have been drafted a little high because he's an NFL type of linebacker. Nowadays, the smaller linebackers are doing better in the NFL because it's a passing league, just like college has turned into. So that's what I wanted to say about that. And the other thing is Saban's comments on the wide receivers and like not buying into the program. I was thinking about that. And, he doesn't talk like that. He, if anything, remember he freaked out earlier in the year talking about the players want to win more than you do and everything like that. That's not his style. So that tells me he was seething. He must have been furious. And when he talks like that, he's really inviting people. If you don't like it, get out. Go to the portal, get out if you don't want to buy in. So I think that, really, these kids are going to change. And that's a warning to new people coming in that you got to buy in or get out. Because I think, and also to answer Plow Jogger, he had a question on the chat about, when is the end near? I think Saban is going to be more focused and more wound up this year. Because let's face it, that guy's a freaky deek. He's always wired up. But now he showed it with these comments about the transfer portal. And I'm wondering what you think about these comments. And before I go, all I want to do is thank you and everyone on your show.
Absolutely. Appreciate Bill from New York calling in. To start with Henry To'o, I agree. At first, a lot of people, and even myself, were kind of concerned about him at the start of the year, but he got better. He got better. He improved, especially the last 5 to 6 games. That's when he really turned it on, and I'm happy to have him back for this upcoming season. I think he's going to do extremely well having this defense in order as a player on the field. And then for Coach Saban, I mentioned this before, every challenge that happens in college football, Saban wants to show he can master the challenge. Whether it's recruiting, whether it's NIL, whether it's the transfer portal, whether it's losing coaches every year, losing players every year to the NFL, whatever challenge that is presented to Coach Saban, he wants to show the college football masses he can beat that challenge. And I think in a college game where there are more challenges now than ever before, I think that's keeping Saban young to a certain degree. The more challenges he has, the more energetic he is. The more challenges he has, the more focus he drives into it. So as challenging as college football is today, it's keeping Saban right there on the forefront of things. We take this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you're calling from.
Hey, how's it going, my guy, Mr. Steve? This is Tobias calling from Fresno, man. How you doing, sir?
Doing fantastic, my brother, but better yet, how are you?
Oh, man, I'm doing great. I'm going into a birthday weekend, and
Happy birthday weekend to you, man.
Yes, sir, man. Yes, sir. I'm tripping. I'm going to be 48. I'm like, what? Like, what happened to the time? Just everything is flying by, man. But it's going to be a great weekend. We got church tonight and some celebration stuff on Sunday and all that good stuff. So I said I have to call my God and drop something in the chat, let all the fans know out there, man, keep pumping this show up and making sure that it's number one. Want to get to 100,000 subscribers and all of that good stuff. And I'm working on my stuff too, Stephen A. Man, I'm learning from you. I'm like, man, I need to get my YouTube stuff up too. But so check this out, man. Something that you talked about before is this recruiting class coming in, man. And I've loved the content you guys have put out just about, what freshmen might be able to make a mark early start. We always talk about that each cycle. And Texas A&M, at right at 330 in their composition mark, man, I was like, wow, they had 7 5-stars and all that good stuff. But, man, our rating is still higher than Texas A&M. And, we brought in 25. They brought in 29. So that's letting me know, man, we continue to bring in a top-notch recruiting class, and we're stacking them on top of each other. I had 2 questions. Who do you think after spring are the first to hit the transfer portal? And then which position groups are you watching closely to see which sophomores or freshmen move into the too deep lineup? Because, summer is when I've seen things really take off for Alabama. It's like spring is good, but, man, in the summers when I've really seen things take off. So I'm just wondering, in your mind, who's like the first to hit the transfer portal? Hopefully no one does. I'm not looking for that, but just if somebody was to hit the transfer portal after spring, who's hitting it? And then who do you think is making a big jump in this spring? And I'll take your comments off the air, man. Keep rolling, bro, and roll tide.
Absolutely. Appreciate Tobias for that call there. I'm going to answer the second one first. So the position groups that I think that a freshman or a sophomore can hit that too deep. I look at the offensive line first and foremost. It's going to be a lot of competition on that offensive line with Eric Wolford in, new offensive line coach from Kentucky. So a freshman or a sophomore can make a big jump there. I look at weak side linebacker. There's a chance a freshman or a sophomore can make a jump there in that too deep behind Jalen Moody. I look at weak side linebacker. I look at the defensive line. Even though there's a lot of depth there's a chance for a freshman or a sophomore, depending upon how they do this spring. And then I look at wide receiver. So I look at receiver, offensive line, defensive line, weak side linebacker. Those be my positions where I can see a freshman or a sophomore get into that too deep in terms of position groups. For that first question, that's a little bit tougher. We would be able to find that out more so after that spring game, because everybody's jockeying for position on where am I in relation to the pecking order in the coach's eyes at various positions. So once we get post A-Day, I think at that point we can see more so of that first question being answered. But appreciate the bias for that call. We grab this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
This is Spencer Manley calling from Sarasota by way of Clayton, Alabama.
What's going on, Spencer? How you doing?
Doing all right. I want to have a comment or really a question about, I heard that the new defensive analyst, I believe, from Florida, Grantham, used to be the defensive coordinator. Does that mean that Pete Golden's going to be fired, or how is that going to play out?
Well, it doesn't mean Pete Golden's going to be fired. Grantham will be in here as a defensive analyst, so he would work behind the scenes. Coach Saban really likes Golden. There's a reason why he's been kept here. There's a reason why Coach Saban continues to groom him and be sort of loyal in keeping him around the program. I don't think it's Pete Golden being fired. I think it's Grantham in here as an analyst to help sharpen the tool shed, but it is Pete Golden.
So you don't think that this means that Pete's going to have somebody looking over his shoulders or what?
I don't think it's going to be anything.
First thing that came to my mind when I heard the reports, because that didn't really seem like, I don't know.
I don't think it's a situation where Pete is looking over his shoulder. I mean, if Pete's going to be looking over his shoulder, then why be here anyway, right? If you're confident that you can do your job and there's no reason for you to be looking over your shoulder. Now, I know people look at what happened, a few weeks back, but Pete Golden's gotten over that. Coach Saban's talked to him. They've gotten over that. So I don't think it's anything of Pete looking over his shoulder.
All right. Appreciate you taking my call. Have a good night.
Absolutely. Appreciate Spencer there calling in right there. We grab this call. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
What's up, Steve, man? This is Jay, man. Been a long time.
Jay, what's going on, man? It has been.
Man, I really was upset about that loss, and then I wanted to hear what my people had to say, so I just sat back for a while, man.
Sometimes you got to do that, man. Sometimes you got to let it go for a minute.
Oh, yeah. But you remember how many times I called and said coordinator creativity is going to be the key? And I feel like we blame the players a little too much because the adults in the room, they ain't do their job. And I don't care how you feel about Bill, how anybody feel about Bill O'Brien. He sucked and he need to go. You got a fifth-year running back, 2nd and 5 on the 5-yard line, goal to go. Man, I'm finna ask this man how many times you want the ball. Ain't no throwing all these little quick, pretty passes. This Bama ball, man. All that Bill O'Brien, man, that man sucked, man. He sucked. He brought a top quarterback in the NFL, Deshaun Watson, down. Bryce, only reason why he won the Heisman because you a true baller. When you a true baller, no matter how sucky the coach is, you still gonna be fine. Bill O'Brien got to go, man. We'll never win with this man. He ain't creative enough in his mind. If you would put, I'm sorry, Steve. I'm just going off on a little rant, man. I'm ready for next year. We lost.
Feel free, Jay. Feel free.
I'm sorry, man. I just hate how everybody keep calling in, blaming the players when there's a whole grown man sitting in the booth. You can see that your team 5 yards away, and you got a fifth-year running back, Steve. I don't understand. I don't care how bad the line is. You can get a couple fat 300-pound guys to go out there and say, hey, guys, you guys double-team this dude, and this dude behind you finna run up y'all blank. And it's that simple, Steve. Football is that simple, man. All that throwing the ball on the 5-yard line, man, we got to get out of that. That ain't Bama ball at all, man. We got to go back to the old school us. We got to what people used to feel Bama. You know what I'm saying? Third quarter, watching the game 5-6 years ago, you used to know, all right, this is over with. You know what I mean? Oh, this supposed to be the number 4 team in the nation. This is over with. But now with these coordinators we got, it's like they don't want to. What it is, the Mamba mentality, the Jordan whatever. They ain't got it, Steve. And we used to it, and it sucks to see it. I'm sorry, man. Roll Tide, I love y'all.
Gotta appreciate Jay. Gotta appreciate Jay from Sheffield. That's passion. That is passion. That is passion. And this is the reason why a lot of you as fans, when rival fans or other people sit there and go, why y'all Alabama fans complain so much? Y'all win all the time. You're going to lose sometime. Shut up. The reason why Alabama fans, as passionate as they are, you have seen quality. You've grown up on quality. You've seen the great, you've seen the bad, and you've seen the, oh, God, no. You've seen it all. And because you've seen it all, you expect quality. You demand quality, and when quality is not on the table, you bring up questions, as you should. As you should. When quality is not on the table, you should ask questions. You should be concerned. You should demand more. Because if you are cheering for a program, if you are supporting the program, then you want that program to be the utmost best. You do. That's what you deserve. That's what you crave. That's what you want. It's just like this show right here. This show demands quality. This show craves quality. If this show ain't giving quality, people are going to be concerned with the world going on with Steven. Because show you want to have quality here where the show is concerned. But we take this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Cole, Georgia.
How we doing?
Good.
We're doing good. What's on your mind?
Oh, yeah. We just won a national championship.
We're doing good.
I mean, it took 41 years, though, but we did it. Oh, yeah.
It did take 41 years, but y'all got one. Appreciate it. We got the kids calling in that are Georgia fans. Kids calling in celebrating the first championship in 41 years for the Georgia Bulldogs. We take this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Yeah, Roll Tide. This is William up here in Iowa.
What's going on, William?
Man, I appreciate Jay's enthusiasm, man. I tell you what, he's fired up, wasn't he?
I mean, he fired up, but it's like I said, Will, like that's the passion of Alabama fans. When you've seen quality and you know what quality looks like, and then you see something that's not quality, as a fan, you want to be concerned. You want to be like, okay, what's going on? This is not what I've grown accustomed to. What's the problem here?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with what he said, but I want to get on the other end now. I want to get on the players because there's players that's been hit right in the chest to the breadbasket and not catch the ball. Now, what's that? What's up with that, Steve?
That's a good point also. That's a good point. Also, it's both sides. It is both sides.
Yeah. Those players should say, "Man, I missed that. I'm going to do better next time." You know, where's accountability with the players, man, on that? But I really want to touch on defense since we got Todd Grantham. I'm hoping that we can get something like a Reuben Foster. I mean, I remember that one game where he came out from, I don't know which position he was at on the defense, but I mean, he came from way out there and come around there and still pop that quarterback. I want to see that kind of run on the defense, you know, like during them days. That's what I want to see.
Now the guy, William, that could do that, especially if he takes a massive jump this spring, that would be a Kendrick Blackshire. If Kendrick Blackshire can take a big jump this spring, that's the type of player that can put you back in that mindset of a Reuben Foster.
Oh, yeah, that's really. I'd like to see a lot of that, really. I know who was the one that was playing that last year. It was it Brian that was doing that?
That was I think that was Brian Branch doing that last year a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right, then. I enjoy the show, man, and roll tide as always.
Absolutely. Appreciate my man William out of Iowa calling in there. I mean, that game that Reuben Foster did, I think it was the Ole Miss game back in 2016. Yeah, it was the Ole Miss game. We take this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
This is James from D.C., Stephen. I finally got the call, and you know, I had to wait these couple of months to digest some things to end up calling the show. But I love what y'all doing. You're doing great work, man.
Absolutely, I appreciate it. What's on your mind, man?
I'm just ready for spring ball now. Y'all got everybody all hyped. We finally get to see behind the curtains, I guess you can call it. Being a part of TDA and listening to the show every week. Just enjoying the scenes behind the curtains. That's all.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm excited for spring football. I've said this before. This is probably one of the more highly anticipated springs because there are so many fun position battles we're going to get a chance to watch up close.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. And that unfinished business. I hope the team watching that Georgia national championship game just as much as I had. Just play it on a loop. Play that whole fourth quarter on a loop.
I'm pretty sure Will Anderson has. I'm pretty sure Bryce Young has. I'm pretty sure Coach Saban is trying not to pull his hair out as he's watching it on loop.
Yes, sir. But y'all doing a great thing. Will and everybody. Keep up the good work, fellas.
Absolutely. Appreciate that phone call right there to the show. In my own words, with yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama. We grab this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
What's going on, Steve? This is Elijah from Jersey. How you feeling, bro?
Elijah, what's going on, big man?
Oh, man. Just sitting up here. I've been looking at these defensive coaches and things like that they Alabama looking at adding to their squad and things like that. And you know, it's always good to get fresh coaches, in my opinion. You know, people that bring different things to the table. Pete Golden, you know, he's still growing. You know, people can't be mad at him. He's going to have his ups and downs, but we all got to remember, you know, he does have a lot of leeway because he got one of the best defensive masterminds in college, in football, and Nick Saban there to help him out, you know. So it might take him a couple more years for him to be what we all expect him to be. And Kirby Smart had to grow too, you know. Kirby Smart had his little wrinkles, but Kirby Smart, he caught on, and I don't know if it's just me, but let me know how you feel about this, Steve. It seemed like defensively, the game has changed, of course, you know, with this targeting and you know, the flags getting thrown on the field much quicker now. But it just seems like back in Coach Kirby Smart days, the defensive players were more, I want to say, aggressive. They were more aggressive players. Do you agree with that?
They were more aggressive, Elijah, and I think the reason why, at that time, Alabama was trying to build a culture under Nick Saban. These were guys that wanted to come to Alabama because they wanted a change after years of the Franchonis, the Dubose, the Mike Shulers. Nothing against those guys. Those guys did all of what they could do. But when Coach Saban came in here, it was a game changer. When Coach Saban came in, he wanted to change the culture. And when he went out recruiting players, he recruited guys that had that mindset of, I don't care who else is on this roster, I'm changing the culture of this team. And that's where that aggressive mindset came in versus now the program basically runs itself. Like, then you needed those transformative talents. You needed those next level names. You needed those some got to give aggressive like guys to build that. Now it's kind of, okay, when you say the word Bama, the program runs itself.
Okay, but like when I look at it, the last 2 years, and everybody want to blame Pete Golden for it, but I'm not going to throw this completely in his lap. Because Pete Golden is not the person out there missing tackles. He's not out there not aligning up right and things like that. So, the players have to take some accountability. But if you notice, the last 2 years, you've been able to run on Bama. And that starts with the defensive line. And they don't seem like they got those monsters there. Like back in the day, everybody knew. With the defensive line, man, that's one thing you wasn't going to do with Bama. If you was going to beat Bama, you had to throw the ball on Alabama. You cannot line up and run the ball down their throats. And we've seen that year after year after year when it came down to the LSU games, when they put us in a phone booth and we had to go nose to nose with LSU, a dominant running attack. They couldn't run the ball on us like that. Now these last 2 years, it just seems like we're more vulnerable against the run. And I look at it, and I'm not putting a lot of people, the easy way out is to blame Pete Golden. That's the easy way. Oh, you know what? Pete Golden ain't doing his job. He's in charge of the defense. But I look at it and say, it's the defensive line. They don't seem as dominant as when we had the Deron Paynes, when we had the Allens, the Tomlinsons, the Jesse Williams, those guys up front. They really controlled the defensive. They really controlled the offensive line. They won the battles in the trenches. And I just don't see, with like the last 2 years, those type of players up front, except for Will Anderson. I don't see those type of players up front controlling the line of scrimmage like we used to have. And I think that's why we have a problem getting off the field on third downs at times, man, because when at one point we looked at it and said, ain't no way in the world they'll run the ball again, try to get a first down. Now a team's playbook is open to us. Like, people ain't afraid to run. Before they were like, man, we just run to try to keep the defense honest. But now they really think they can have success against the run. Let me know how you feel about that.
Appreciate that call there from Elijah. Now, on the defensive line, you can look at some of that. Is Freddie Roach getting enough aggressive play out of those guys? You can look at it from that coin, or you can look at it from going back to the recruitment coin of the last few classes or so. The top defensive linemen in these recruiting classes, they're no longer going to Alabama. They're going to Texas A&M. They're going to Georgia. They're going to Clemson. They're going to Ohio State, these other programs versus years past. If this was the number one defensive lineman, it was a no-brainer. That guy was coming to Tuscaloosa. So some of that recruiting. Some of that is Freddie Roach getting the utmost aggressive play out of these guys. And that's another thing that spring football is going to tell, because that interior pressure, that interior pass rush from that front group, where is that going to come from? Appreciate that call there from Elijah. We take this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you're calling from.
Hey, Steven, Mattress Matt from Mobile.
Matt, what's happening, man?
Oh, man, just enjoying the show. Pete Golding, the one thing I have to remind myself is that, the players on the team are pretty much kids. They're just out of childhood. They're, 18 to 22 years old. And, the coach is the professional. These are student athletes. Yeah, they're paid a little bit now to, through the NIL, but they're student athletes, and so they're students. You can't really blame them. They already have I'm sure Nick Saban already has a disciplinary system in place. If a player doesn't catch a ball, if a player doesn't do their job, if a player does something wrong, you should have disciplinary policies in place for those players. So if they don't do their job, they're subject to that discipline. You can't really blame that on the players. So their performance of the players is, it's based on talent and everything, but Pete Golding is 100% responsible. If you're getting paid $1 million a year, and he's not a very intimidating guy. I could try to put myself in the player's shoes. I would not perceive Pete Golding as someone that I'm afraid of, or afraid of being disciplined by. He kind of reminds me of Jack Black. Like he looks like he's everybody's buddy, and I'm sure he's a great guy. And Nick Saban probably does like the guy. I'm sure he's like a really likable guy, but I just don't see him as, and you know what? Maybe he's a great defensive play caller and a great defensive mind. But then you also have the coaching aspect, that involves motivating your players, energizing your players, and then, having a disciplinary mindset as well as the coach. So if you got a classroom of kids that are misbehaving, you can't blame the children. The teacher is responsible for creating that environment and creating that atmosphere. And the fact that Pete Golding is so likable, I think, might be his downfall. Saban has overlooked a lot. I don't see many aspects of Saban's football system where he allows a coach not to be good. Pete Golding has, with the talent that he has and the talent that he's been given, he's probably one of the worst defensive coordinators statistically with the talent that he has. And why Nick Saban has let this go on for so long is probably because he is a likable guy. He does have a lot of defensive knowledge. I bet you if you sat down in an interview with Pete Golding, he could sound like the greatest defensive mind that you've ever even heard of. I bet he could just have you going, wow, you have so much defensive knowledge. It's so impressive. But you have to be able to implement that knowledge as a coach. And I think that's what Pete Golding is lacking. And, that's just my 2 cents, buddy. You have a great weekend.
Appreciate Mattress Matt from Mobile giving his thoughts there on the show here on a Friday. Yours truly, Stephen M. Smith, in my own words, Touchdown Alabama Magazine. We grab this call here. You are live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Yeah, man, this is Ralph from Birmingham, Alabama.
What's going on with you, man?
Man, not much, man. I just heard your previous caller, man, and all your callers, man, and y'all making some great points, but I'm going to throw my little 2 cents in. I believe Pete Golden is very intelligent in what he does. What I seen last year is that, you know, he had him in the right position, and just in certain areas, you know, execution was the problem. Especially like when we had Toa. A lot of times I seen Toa not really plug that hole like he's supposed to. And Pete Golden put him in the spot to plug, but sometimes he didn't plug. And I want to reference to the SEC championship game where we basically had a complete game on defense. Like, secondary was doing good, defensive line was doing good, and linebackers was doing good. And all year, it's either the secondary was shining and the line and linebackers was struggling, or if you were in reverse, you know, the line and linebackers were solid and the secondary was struggling. So, you know, I think the reason why Nick Saban is keeping him is because he see the potential that Pete Golden have, and you know we have to give credit. You know, he's a young coach, and so he ain't been coaching that long on this level. So I think that as he get more time up on his belt, I think people really gonna see what kind of coach he is. So I think I want to hold on to him. I don't want to let him go, because if we let him go and he starts shining somewhere else, we're gonna be kicking ourselves in the butt. But I want to know your opinion about I think his name Kendrick Blackshire. I've been trying to find him, you know, on the YouTube and see what he's been doing. What you think he's going to do this year? You think he's going to step up and make an impact?
I think he has a major chance to do so. I mean, he's taking part in the fourth quarter program right now. He is one of the guys at linebacker that fans want to see, especially at year 2 at that weak side backer position. Of course, Jalen Moody would get that first crack at that job because of his experience, but I like Blackshire's size. I like his toughness. He runs down the field. He hits people. I think he got called for targeting. I think on the first play, he ran down the field and took the guy's head off. So you're already seeing some Reuben Foster, Mac Wilson type hitting tendencies from Blackshire. So I think he's got a chance to be really good. Appreciate that call right there coming into the show here. Gotta shout out my man Jimmy Clay, the bad man Jimmy Clay, with that $50 donation, the Super Chats, showing love here to us on the show. Appreciate the support that comes from our own Jimmy Clay. We take this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
It's Kerry from Northport.
What's going on with you, my guy? How we feeling?
Pretty good. Jeremy Pruitt will be back next year. He will be in the box. He can't coach on the field, but he'll be back next year, and he'll be an analyst, and he'll be into team meetings and everything, but he can't be on the field. Have you heard anything about it?
Haven't heard anything about Jeremy Pruitt being back, but I will definitely keep my eyes open.
Well, I heard from alumni that Nick Saban cleared it with SEC.
Okay, well, I will definitely do some digging there on that. Appreciate that call right there. The possibility of Jeremy Pruitt being back at Alabama. I know fans would really want to see that. Chance of that guy being back on the defensive side of the ball. But we take this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from. Live on the show, caller. And unfortunately, we lost that call there, but appreciate you guys calling in, making this your show, your platform, your channel in space to talk Alabama football here with us on a Friday, TGIF edition of the show. We go to a quick topic right here on In My Own Words, and this topic goes to the SEC Football Media Days. Media Days is back. It's scheduled for July 18th to the 21st back in Atlanta at the College Football Hall of Fame and the Omni Hotel Atlanta CNN Center. SEC Media Days in full effect here. Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide will speak on Tuesday, July 19th. Now, what's interesting here is, like, Coach Saban would be the main event for Tuesday. Like, there's no other big coach speaking Tuesday to really take some attention from Coach Saban. Like, on other days, you may have Kirby Smart and Lane Kiffin speaking on the same day, or Jimbo Fisher and Brian Harsin speaking on the same day. Like, other of the 4 days, 2 or 3 of these days, there's at least 2 coaches, big names, speaking on the same day. So not all the attention is put on one coach, but Coach Saban will speak on Tuesday, July 19th, and he'll get some interesting questions. He'll probably get questions on Bill O'Brien. He'll get questions on Pete Golding. He'll get a lot of questions out. Well, Coach Saban, what took place, national championship. I mean, it's going to be a lot of stuff right there. Also, how about the fourth quarter program? Players continuing to get down to business in the fourth quarter program, going through workouts, going through exercises, going through drills, going through strength, going through endurance tests. These coaches are putting the players through it, making sure they're mentally and physically ready for the college football season coming up here in the fall. And after Coach Saban told Kirby Smart in the middle of the pile post-game national championship handshake, where Coach Saban told him, y'all kicked our butt in the fourth quarter. Believe you me, Coach Saban's going to remind these players every chance he gets of what he told Kirby Smart and drilling into them as motivation for the upcoming season. Finishing, being strong, being physical, being effective, imposing your will, having that intensity in the fourth quarter of the guys going through the program hard right now. Guys, shout out Jimmy Clay again, baby. Jimmy Clay. This time, let's see here, that $46 donation coming from Jimmy Clay. $46 donation. Appreciate that from him. We're going to go to a break right now, folks. Don't touch that dial. When we get back, we tidy up loose ends by discussing what does it mean for Alabama's offense to have Derek Dooley on staff. We'll touch on it after this.
You know what we do at the start of the fourth quarter. We throw them foes up. But now you don't have to wait until the fourth quarter. Get your 4-finger bling necklace at WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com. It's the first and only logo that captures the essence of all Crimson Tide players and fans as we represent the legendary Alabama football fourth quarter dominance. Get your 4-finger bling necklace right now at WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com. Get yours today and stun on them haters. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide. Thank you for tuning in. Show your support right now by clicking that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now and enable all notifications to make sure you don't ever miss any of the best Alabama football news, notes, and information right here on Touchdown Alabama.
Rocking and rolling here, folks, on a Friday, TGIF edition of the show, hottest show in the streets, talking your Crimson Tide football. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Appreciate all of you for checking us out on today. And before we get into the final topic of conversation, got to remind you of TDAwear.com. That's TDAwear.com. Check us out right now. Get all of your clothing, get all of your gear, get all of your fashion needs. Doing it for the culture, doing it for the Crimson Tide, doing it for Alabama football. If you love hearing Touchdown Alabama, you check us out right here, TDAwear.com. tdawear.com. That's tdawear.com. You can get all of your fashion needs and stay up to date on the styles of your Crimson Tide. Link right there in the description, tdawear.com, showing that support for Coach Saban, the University of Alabama, the student athletes, and us here at Touchdown Alabama Magazine. I spoke on earlier about how Coach Saban is getting back to having those guys he's familiar with, those guys he trusts, those guys he understands, those guys that he has a rapport with on the coaching staff. And one of those guys happens to be Derek Dooley. Dooley officially back on the Nick Saban coaching staff. He's back with Coach Saban and at the Crimson Tide, according to the Alabama football staff director. If you look on there, Derek Dooley is listed there as an offensive analyst, senior offensive analyst for Alabama. And for Dooley, he's got a wealth of knowledge. He's got a wealth of offensive coaching experience. He's been an offensive coordinator. He's been a quarterback's coach. He's been a running back's coach, been a tight ends coach, been a wide receivers coach, been an assistant head coach. He's done everything offensively but coach the offensive line. But everything else, Dooley has pretty much done. And I know people go and they look at, but Steven, he wasn't a good head coach. He was awful at Tennessee. Awful at Tennessee. Not a good head coach. He struggled at Louisiana Tech. Why is he in Tuscaloosa? I've said this before. Some coaches, when they come out the womb, when they come out and the doctor presents them to their mother and say, ma'am, you have a son, those coaches out the womb were born head coaches. They got a clipboard, they got a headset, they know how to call plays, construct plays, run plays, leader of men, CEO, front and center, camera ready, eloquent speakers. They're born head coaches. They come out the womb, born head coaches. And then you have others that come out the womb. They're not necessarily equipped to run a whole team, but if you give them a cubicle, if you give them an area, and you let them coordinate that, they excel at that. They're born coordinators of their offense or defense. And then you have some that are just born position coaches. You give them a certain position, they run with it, they dominate it, they're good. So there are levels to all of these things. For Derek Dooley, not necessarily the best head coach, but he can coordinate some things, and as an analyst behind the scenes, this gives him a chance to sharpen some skills, sharpen some tools, sharpen some abilities. It allows him to take a step back and be grateful for this opportunity to come to Alabama, to learn from his good friend, his mentor, Coach Saban, to glean more from him, to look at how the Alabama football program is ran, is done, is constructed. But this also gives Dooley a chance to, cut up some game film, watch some tape, watch some action, be able to look at the data, look at the analytics, look at the game tape, and be able to study these things and take these aspects to the coaches' meetings, the team meetings, and show Coach Saban, hey, Coach, you do this, you can be more effective here. You do that, you can be more dominant here. You do this, you can execute better. And what this also does, it's even more help for Bill O'Brien. We all talk about the coordinators, Pete Golding, Bill O'Brien. This is more help for O'Brien. And you've already got Alex Mortensen. You've brought in Zach Mettenberger, former LSU quarterback who competed against Nick Saban for 3 years. Now he's in here as an analyst. Now you bring in a Derek Dooley full of knowledge, full of insight, full of football knowing in the SEC and in the NFL also. You bring him in here to put with O'Brien. It's about getting as many football minds in the room to ensure yourself you're going to get to this national championship or put yourself in that national championship mode to finish that job. And going back to Dooley, he was with Saban from 2000 to 2004 at LSU. He served as a running backs coach, tight ends coach, and assistant head coach. Dooley, BCS national champion in 2003. He followed Saban to the NFL with the Miami Dolphins from 2005 to 06 as a tight ends coach. So Dooley knows Saban. He knows what Saban's about. He knows how he operates. He knows what he wants to see. He knows Saban craves that balance in the run and pass game. So he'll look to bring that into Tuscaloosa. And speaking of that balance at Tennessee, Dooley did produce a 1,000-yard running back in Torrin Poole in 2010. He also had 4 500-yard rushers. At Louisiana Tech, he had, a couple of 1,000-yard rushers there as well. So Dooley knows a little something about establishing a run game, creating that balance in the run and pass. He knows a little something about that aspect. So having him in here as a senior offensive analyst can't do nothing but help Bill O'Brien even more in terms of give him every chance to be all around successful in Tuscaloosa. That's what Coach Saban does. He's a coach that, hey, if you feel like you're struggling, he's going to put help around you until he feels like, okay, this ain't working. This is not what we thought it was going to be. You might need to look for another job. So because of the fact that O'Brien's still in here, he adds a Derek Dooley to O'Brien to try to see, could this be the piece that, helps O'Brien be even better as the play caller in Tuscaloosa. But gotta shout out my man Tobias Brookins for that 50-piece, that $50 donation, the Super Chats, showing love from the show. Appreciate that coming from Tobias. And as always, Tide fans, you want the best of news, the most information, and coverage on your favorite program, that being Alabama football. You can get this by accessing the Touchdown Alabama magazine app. You download the app from the iPhone App Store. If you got Team Apple, Google Play Store. If you got the Android phone. For your audio needs, check us out. iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, Google Play, TuneIn Radio, Overcast.fm, or iHeartRadio. The good and gracious Lord sees fit I shall return on Monday, continuing the conversation that is Bama football. Remember, Tide fans, you can purchase individual copies of Touchdown Alabama magazine. Have those sent to your door. That link found in the description. If you're trying to get your hands on the new edition, print edition, fresh edition of TDA the magazine, you go to touchdownalabama.com. You click join, become a member, a subscriber today. That link in the description. If you're trying to also get the 4-finger bling necklace, 4-finger bling jewelry, courtesy of WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com. That's WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com. That link in the description as well. Appreciate my man Bradley Sylve, former Alabama defensive back, joining us here today. You the fans calling in, writing in, donating in, texting in, chatting in, making your voice be heard. My man John Ivory in the production studio doing his thing. As always, people, husbands, love your wives. Wives appreciate, value those husbands. Children, we've made it to the weekend, but you continue doing the right thing, fun thing, smart thing, good thing, legitimate thing, to not be bored. You get yourself those 3 hearty meals a day, those 3 great laughs a day, and you protect yourself. You protect the loved ones around you. Till next time, people, I'm your man Stephen M. Smith, and you've been listening to In My Own Words.